Okay, we're in the CranioGUIvm, and we're going to run a couple programs, see what it can do. We're going to run two programs, LandmarkGUI and CranioGUI. You start LandmarkGUI with java-jar landmarkgui.jar. Now there's a lot of settings that are on this GUI that all need to be right. Now in the VM you're looking at, all the software that you need and the sample data that we're going to use are already there. So everything that you're seeing here you can do once you start the VM. You'll see the input directory is home cranio sample data /obj. So if we look in there, we see some OBJ files. These are 3D meshes of the face. Now LandmarkGUI is going to read those and convert them to a different format, PLY, that's more suitable for the auto landmarking program. These OBJ files are 3D images that you might get from some hardware, some 3D image hardware that you have. If you click on the convert button, it's going to ask you where you want to save them. We're going to save them in batch output convert. Now if we look in there, we don't see anything yet. And we also don't see anything in the landmark folder, batch output /landmark. That's going to be where the output of the auto landmarking process is going to be stored. But for now, we tell it we want to put the files into batch output convert. Click OK. And the GUI is going to start telling us how it's going. If any errors happen, you'll see reports about that in this window. If you do get errors, check these settings that you have. And when it's all done, looks like everything finished okay. You'll see that in the convert folder, we now have all those OBJ files converted to PLY format. The other thing that LandmarkGUI is going to do for us is perform auto landmarking on those meshes. So we're going to click start, and it's going to start. And again, if there's any errors, we'll see them in this window. You'll want to look at where you make sure all these settings, the input directory, the output directory, all these things are set correctly. It'll tell you progress. And it's going to put that data into batch output /landmark. There's nothing in there yet. But when it does finish converting or finish the auto landmarking process, we'll see a file in there. And we're going to look at it. So Steve 1 is done. So let's see. Batch output landmark has 3 files. Underscore auto landmarks.txt. If we look at that, we see that the underscore auto landmarks.txt suffix files contain comma-separated data that contains 51 floating point numbers corresponding to the XYZ coordinates of 17 landmark points detected automatically using only the geometry of the mesh. The one ending in underscore trans landmarks.txt is also a comma-separated file that contains 72 floating point numbers corresponding to the XYZ coordinates of the 24 landmark points. This is the final output of the auto landmarking process. These landmarks are transferred from the template mesh provided in the GUI. The last one, ending with underscore trans lmk.mkr.txt, contains the same information in the second file, the one we just looked at. but it's in a human readable format with the landmark names. Now T_R, T_L, these might not look like human readable, but we're going to look at a website to find out what they mean. At www.facebase.org/facial_norms. There's a lot of stuff here, but we just want to find out what our auto landmarking output means. You click on Summary Statistics. There's a lot of measurements in here. Let's look at the cranial base width. And here we see that there is 2 landmarks involved, indicated by T_R and T_L. So we got the right and the left. And right here in our output file, we see that same information, TL, TR. So using this web page and others, you might be able to find out exactly what these landmarks are referring to in the human readable output file. The landmarking process takes a while. So we're going to go over to this web page for the software in the CranioVM that we're looking at. This page right here can actually do a lot of what the CranioGUIvm the program we're about to run can do. The interface is different. This runs over the web, so you can provide your input data over the web, have it run there, and get the output. Interestingly, on this page you can get some documentation and tutorial on how to use it. So when we start CranioGUI, we're only going to use a little bit of the functionality, but you can learn more in the documentation file found here. The other thing that you can get on this page is the source code. And in the source code, which I've compiled on OS X, and it's also compiled here in your Linux VM, you can get that software here. Now we're almost done with LandmarkGUI, and afterwards we're going to start another program that's in this VM called CranioGUI, and that program can do a lot of things. You assemble workflows with modules. So we're going to put in a couple modules. One's going to represent the 3D mesh, and the other input is going to represent the auto landmark output that we were just looking at. And then we're going to add another module, a visualizer module, and we're going to connect them all up and look at where our landmarks ended up. So it looks like our LandmarkGUI auto landmarking effort went well. No errors. It's all done. We can close it and start up CranioGUI.jar, which is started as java-jar CranioGUI.jar. That web page we looked at can tell you a lot more about what this software can do. We're just going to do a couple things. We're going to have a PLY reader to put in our recently converted mesh as an input. And we're going to have a text input so we can put our landmark data in here. Now for the PLY, we'll go find one that we just made. Remember, they went into batch output, convert. So we can do carry here. And the text reader, we want to put in the landmarking data that we were just looking at, which is in the landmark folder. We'll do this carry auto landmarks file. Now over here you click on the plus to see which modules are under visualization, and we're going to use the PLY visualizer with landmarks. It's going to let us see our 3D object with the landmarks on there. Now the way CranioGUI works is you connect inputs to outputs. So the way you do that is for this PLY input, this reader, on the box you click, hold, and drag and release. Sometimes you got to do it a couple times. It's highlight the box, click, hold, drag, and when it's connected you get a line connected them. And likewise with the landmark button, the text reader, we're going to click, hold, drag, and release. And like I said, sometimes you got to do this a couple times. Once you get them connected, click play. And if you look closely here, you can see that we have the 3D mesh and dots to where the landmarks are. Now this software also has in it functionality where you can correct the auto landmarks in the GUI. So you could click this landmark and move it to where it would be, where it should be, and the underlying auto landmarking file will be adjusted. That's not in this VM, but it is in the software and it does compile, and we hopefully will get it in the next one. Yeah, that's we got it to do everything we wanted to do. LandmarkGUI opened our OBJ files and converted them to PLY format, and then LandmarkGUI read those files and performed the auto landmarking process on them. And then we opened CranioGUI to visualize the 3D mesh with the landmarks on top. Thanks for watching.